Welcome to Current Practice Review, or CPR, part of AssetWise Avara Performance Management. During this presentation, you will learn about APM reliability strategy methodologies, learn of the differences between CPR, MTA, and RCM2 work identification analyses, and see how a current practice review, or CPR, analysis is created. Asset performance management includes several distinct phases, including strategy development. APM strategy development includes work identification analyses such as reliability-centered maintenance, also known as RCM2, of maintenance task analysis, MTA, and current practice review, CPR.
What is current practice review, or CPR? Current practice review is a basic review practice used to identify opportunities to create APM indicators and check sheets based upon valid paper-based inspections and rounds, including startup, shutdown, and setup procedures, on valid preventive and overhaul maintenance instructions, and valid predictive maintenance, or PDM, routes such as lubrication or vibration. Current valid practices can be derived from federal, state, or local compliance and safety routes or inspections. Other rigorous or semi-rigorous reliability strategy methodologies, such as Six Sigma or root cause failure analysis. From maintenance plans developed in partnership with the manufacturer and with the current operating context used as the framework. CPR is used in situations where quick results are required to initiate change from a very reactive cycle to a more proactive cycle.
Technology is implemented quickly, enabling the maintenance and operations staff to capture inspection data and bring visibility to out-of-tolerance or non-normal operating conditions of the plant. CPR is very effective for reviewing an existing valid maintenance program. It enables quick conversion of traditional paper-based check sheets and work order tasks to an electronic format in APM.
CPR should be implemented as a parallel methodology with the prioritized application of MTA and RCM2 analyses. It is important to note that CPR is not as effective at generating new maintenance programs as RCM2 and MTA.
It is also important to note that as business or organizational changes occur, a CPR analysis can be converted to an MTA or RCM2 analysis.
Current practice review, or CPR, is a less resource-intensive and a faster strategy to implement than RCM2 and MTA, since it does not involve facilitated group sessions. It is a less rigorous strategy than RCM2 or MTA, since it does not define functions, functional failures, failure modes, or failure effects. It is an appropriate strategy for certain assets based on the application a reliability strategy decision. It is a strategy that adds value to a company's existing programs by defining explicit indicators, states, and alarm thresholds, eliminating redundant checks, ensuring compliance with all legally mandated checks, improving the quality and completedness of the condition monitoring program, and identifying automatic online condition monitoring in place of manual visual inspections where appropriate. Maintenance task analysis, or MTA, is used to challenge the old paradigm of traditional time-based maintenance programs with one that is focused on condition-based and failure-finding strategies. MTA is also a good tool when used to capture existing operations and maintenance practices and knowledge on assets that are performing well. MTA leverages historical and readily available knowledge pertaining to the care of the asset. This knowledge may evolve from the existing asset reliability program, from vendor recommendations, or the experience of asset specialists, maintenance and operations people. RCM2 is a zero-based work identification methodology that can be used to create a maintenance program to replace an existing one, or to create an entirely new maintenance program for a greenfield asset. It starts with the desired performance of the asset, and then identifies all of the intended functions of the asset and the ways it can fail to provide that function. A facilitated group of subject matter experts is led through a detailed failure mode and effect analysis and generates action plans based on the consequences of failure. RCM2 is used on the 5 to 15% of critical equipment requiring an exhaustive form of analysis to identify how equipment should function to meet its users' needs, how it fails to do so, what happens when it does fail, and how consequences can be prevented or mitigated so that the impact is minimal. Benefits of current practice review. Through the CPR process, the basic reliability program is delivered quickly, and reasonably likely causes of failure are addressed. This will quickly enable technology that increases visibility of equipment operating conditions on the indicator, provide consistent qualitative and quantitative inspection, help capture the knowledge of the people who know the equipment best. Often, inspections that are executed are supplemented in part by the experience of the individuals conducting them. Capturing this information is invaluable to an asset reliability program. And finally, CPR provides quick opportunities for key wins that address the low-hanging fruit. Selecting the right reliability strategy. Which reliability strategy is better? Well, it all depends on what needs to be achieved. This implies that guidelines are required to understand when and where to apply each practice. The guidelines used to select a practice are relatively simple and focus on selecting the risk-appropriate methodology for analyzing equipment. The following criteria are taken into consideration: the consequence priority number of the asset, the level of risk the asset poses to the organization's business goals, the current performance of the asset in regards to throughput, safety, environmental, costs, and so on, the availability of asset knowledge required to operate and maintain the asset, and the level of documentation of asset knowledge. In conjunction with these criteria, tolerance thresholds must be defined for the organization's consequence priority number and relative risk. These thresholds are used when assessing individual assets for the appropriate work identification methodology. Many organizations face resource constraints that prevent them from applying RCM2 or MTA to all of their significant assets in a timely fashion. Despite this, responsible asset managers must find a way to address the reliability program shortcomings within a reasonable time frame. This has prompted the need for a set of parallel work identification methodologies that is faster and less resource intensive than MTA or RCM2. The reliability strategy, known as Current Practice Review or CPR, is coupled with selection criteria to ensure that a risk-appropriate methodology is always used. It is recommended that CPR be conducted in parallel with an MTA and RCM2 program. As business and asset conditions change, a CPR analysis may be converted to an MTA or an RCM2 analysis where more in-depth analysis can be undertaken. The first step in the process may be to evaluate the assets using an asset risk prioritization methodology. IVARA provides tools to document the results of a facilitated asset prioritization review It may also be obvious that any form of work identification strategy will achieve quick results, and in these cases, CPR may be initiated without a formal asset prioritization analysis.
Current Practice Review, Part 1. At the conclusion of this module, you now know about APM reliability strategy methodologies and the differences between CPR, MTA, and RCM2 work identification analyses. In this next section, you will see a software demonstration of a current practice review analysis. You will see how the analysis is created, how action plans are imported to it, how they are updated with indicators and tasks, and the facilitation of those action plans marked as complete. This concludes Part 1 of Current Practice Review. In Part 2, you will see a software demonstration.